noble citizens, we must bypass a life of dormancy and vice to pursue the generative endeavor of a hard day's work. The benefits of these pursuits are not secured by chance or charity, but through the merit of your character and the firmness of your convictions. It is you who are planting the seeds of trees whose shade you know you shall never see.
What's up? Welcome to the Broken Wind podcast. It is a full deck today. Very exciting. We got myself, Butler, and the super producer Vane, our Christianity correspondent and TikTok correspondent, and my dear friend Crocus and Axiom, our philosophy correspondent and also TikTok correspondent, and also FromSoft game correspondent is here as well. I hope those are all.
TikTok correspondent. I quit that 5 years ago, but
okay. I'm sorry, that's inaccurate. Shorts. We're shorts. That's what it is. We're brothers in shorts. We were talking about that earlier this week, but we've got a lot.
Butler's always trying to send me YouTube shorts, and they're always shit I saw on TikTok 6 months ago.
Except now it's got like another thing edited in there over it at the same time, and then there's also like someone reacting to it, and it's not clear which side of the screen they're reacting to. It's been like completely like pushed to the point of abstraction to be almost meaningless. That's YouTube Shorts right there. That's what I come to YouTube Shorts for.
It's
stuff
sort of
like
horrible
that
like the algorithm prefers faces, and so now there's just like 4 overlaid fucking randos like just on every short that are like, oh, I can boost the algo.
Yeah. And we have a lot we're going to be covering today. We're going to be doing a broad news update. I wanted to take this as an opportunity to also make sure to thank all of the people currently on our Patreon who are paying for it. Thank you so much. This does not extend to Naive Bukele because canonically he's pirating the podcast. But
that thanks does not apply to you, Bukele.
That does not apply to Naive Bukele. But everyone else, thank you so much. Thank you so much for like, seriously, it means a lot. It's very cool, and we're going to keep putting stuff out there for you. And like I said, today we're covering the damn news, and there's so much to cover. Even the professionals often struggle with the volume of bullshit spewing out of the current administration, and there's also, we're going to definitely do Popewatch, but I wanted to start with one of the just a fun sort of bit of history I learned about recently from watching Hassan's stream, because he was talking fashion with some other fashion creators, and I'm not always in agreement with Hassan's style, but I like that he's got style. I respect that. I think that's cool. And they were talking zoot suits. He was saying how he thought zoot suits were cool, and I was like, that is the most embarrassing shit. I thought that in my head, I was like, that's so stupid. And he started talking about the history of zoot suits, which I was not aware of. Are any of you aware of, like, I think I posted about it earlier.
Yeah, I'm vaguely aware of this story.
You're on the West Coast, so you would know more about it. Yeah.
But, you know, zoot suits are still cringe as fuck. One time in college, I, made fun of a guy for wearing zoot suits, this vintage kid, and, he got super offended and, explained to me about how he was not wearing a zoot suit and was wearing something like a triple-breasted motherfucker,
Oh, that's a way worse response.
Yeah, no, it was
I've also had this, gut response to zoot suits that they're embarrassing, and I learned about I think it was in the, early 50s, there was a literal, riot and, spat of periodic violence in South LA between white men who worked in the military base generally and, Latino, Filipino, Mexican people living in LA black people as well, who would wear zoot suits as a part of just the culture at the time. It was a great outfit for dancing. And they would get into fights because at that time, rationing fabric was, considered what you should be doing, and the excessive amount of fabric used for a zoot suit was seen as offensive to these, buzz cut freaks working in the military base there. And so they would get into
people have never been able to mind their fucking business for one day in our god.
I learned this, and I was like, God, the layers of whiteness that never stop peeling away. It's like, I was like, okay, zoot suits are cool. F me. So you know what? Zoot suits are sick. They're cool to dance in. I was thinking about it earlier. It's I think getting your ass kicked in a zoot suit does probably suck and is embarrassing. I can see that. But like dancing, yeah, looks odd, yeah. High-waisted pants on men, yeah, more sure. You know, I have weird hips. I shouldn't have. I think so. I don't know. That I just wanted to drop some knowledge on everybody with that, because that I don't know. Like I said, it's like that zoot suits. I've always been like, haha, zoot suit, but it's like that, like just every layer you scratch when it comes to American history. So. Yeah,
I heard a podcast about the swing revival that went on in our childhoods,
right?
Like Cherry Poppin' Daddies and
oh my god,
and bands before them. But their song "Zoot Suit Riot" I think was actually kind of like nobody knew. I mean, most people didn't know that it was about that, but it was like also kind of insensitive that it was about that because they were like a bunch of white dudes.
It's so funny. Yes,
culture.
The first thing I did after learning this was watch that video and try and figure out if this is pro or anti Zoot Suit riots. That's what it was.
Dude, Scott has a really complicated history with like social justice movements, you know? So like it started off as like a Christian genre in like fucking like Jamaica and like other island nations. But then like, you know, we mostly think about what we think of as like third wave ska. It started in like Southern California in like the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
And like
you talking about swing music?
Or, I mean, so ska was, like, kind of part of the broad scene that the swing revival in the 90s was, like, part of.
Yeah.
So, like, Cherry Poppin' Daddies were, like, supposed to be this weird ska swing fusion band or whatever. It's, like, more evident in some songs than others. But, anyways, I bring all this up to, like, illustrate that, like, there's a weird relationship in that genre because it's supposed to be an anti-racist genre. That's why they have, like, the checkers as part of it. But then sometimes they really swing and they miss. So, like, the Mighty Mighty Bosstones had, like, a really cringy album about, like, the 2020 George Floyd protests.
Oh, man. Didn't hear about that. Hey, speaking of cringy albums, did you hear about the new Kanye album that came out? He dropped an album.
Did he drop an entire album?
He really
I heard
did.
the single. Fucking Cousins. Which
he did after the thing that I'm sure you heard of. Yeah, the video that leaked of a beat saying "Hail Hitler."
Yeah.
And then right after that he dropped an album and it's absolute trash. The mixes are awful. He's gonna own it and say that it's like the way that the mixes are supposed to be, but like if you can't hear the vocal, that's not how the mixes are supposed to be.
Is the cover art a swastika or something? It was like being censored on TikTok.
Yeah, it apparently was censored, and he like apparently went out on the street and started releasing it to people like in person or something. I was hoping some of you might have heard more of the details. But
Spotify at the very least. Like, I don't know where he actually released it. He did have a recent thing where he released a track called Cousins, which was about like his childhood of playing doctor, potentially getting sexually.
Oh, right, this too. Yes.
Yeah. He also talks about like the nitrous in that song, which is rumor for a while
that's what Kanye
he's addicted.
Addiction.
Yeah, I think he's suing a doctor, I heard, or something, possibly. I think he's suing the dentist who got him addicted or something is what I heard. And this dentist, like, apparently was really pushy with a lot of clients on getting them addicted to nitrous or something.
Well, far be it from this podcast to condemn nitrous.
Man, they won't give me any at all anymore.
Sucks to be you, pal.
You're fucking a mouthful of Novocaine right now. Open wide, let me shove the needle.
Oh my god, save the thought about the Novocaine.
Since dude, like.
Oh, Novocaine, I think of Tom Holman, but we'll get to him.
I think of Malcolm X, and he says that it's suffer peacefully is like Novocaine in the mouth.
It's like when you go to the dentist, and the man is going to take your tooth. You're going to fight him when he start pulling. So they squirt some stuff in your jaw called Novocaine to make you think they're not doing anything to you. So you sit there and because you got all that Novocaine in your jaw, you suffer peacefully.
I think of Novocaine in the mouth because that's what I imagine you need to do to sound like Tom Holman is take a huge amount of Novocaine to your mouth. But we're gonna get back to
that is like one of the worst cases of marble mouth that I'm aware of.
Yeah, we're gonna get back to him. Enough dilly dallying. Far be it from us to condemn anyone to be on nitrous, because I think at least 3/4 of this podcast is I know I'm
inspired by nitrous.
So let's go. It's Popewatch time. It's the last edition of Popewatch. Fucking super sad, but every good thing has to come to an end. I know you missed the last one. It was.
I think
really
I missed
good.
all the other editions of Popewatch. As you guys know, I care a lot about the Pope, so I feel terrible about it.
Well, we played Money Pope last time, so that was really cool. We were getting into all the stats, and this time I think I got to. My thoughts on the conclave ending are that I got a taste of the archetypical sports fan experience, and that I feel like all the players showed up and played a really good game, but ultimately I'm just disappointed with the direction that the franchise has taken. And I think it was all just overly commercialized and quite frankly just not enough actual game. It was all ads, no game. It was the conclave was over so fast. That was crazy, dude.
At least we can say now that we have an officially a Star Wars episode for a new Pope. You know what I'm saying?
Oh my God! Because it's Pope Leo again. Is that why?
Yeah, Leo the 14th.
That's a crazy choice.
That is an interesting thing that he chose Leo. I don't know if any of you know the history of Leo the 13th, but we do plan on going pretty deep at some point into the history of Italy for a multi-part series. So we'll be talking about Pope Leo and how he is really the first pope to come into modernity. Leo the 13th.
Yeah, we condemn all papacy after that, real disappointment of a conclave. And I think, I don't know if I speak for at least I know, Mr. Vane, that we wanted the Filipino Pope. It's embarrassing. Yeah. We thought maybe we might get the Filipino Pope. But that would have been cool, but also the Catholic Church.
He made some interesting choices from what I hear.
Yeah,
he chose to wear the color red, which means he wants to speak for the suffering. And then also to choose the name Leo, I think is important because Leo came into modernity, which shows, I think, could be a sign that he wants to take the Catholic Church into a new phase of modernity.
Well, and he is probably the most online pope that we've ever had, I would say, because he had a Twitter account as a cardinal. And then he also supposedly... people have found his maybe that he was on Tumblr too, probably not participating very much, but they found an associated email.
Oh, so. we have a former Chicago resident here too. Do you have any thoughts on the recent Pope being from Chicago, Axiom?
Not really. I mean, it's pretty Catholic town or whatever. I don't know.
Have you heard any good jokes about it from your friends and neighbors?
I've heard bad ones. Also haven't lived in Chicago sad.
Yeah, it's true. My first thought was literally it's so crazy to think that we now have a pope who has actually probably tried a Chicago deep dish pizza. I'm not the first to make this observation, but it bears repeating that we now have
he's seen Italy in America and he is the first American pope.
Crazy. Yeah, it's very strange. Just a very interesting, choice by the conclave. But you know what? Again, hopefully this is the end of Catholicism's little rise in counterculture popularity too. We'll see. I don't know. This guy does not have the sauce of Pope Francis, but I don't know if Pope Francis was the draw for a lot of American Catholics either. So
I don't know. I mean, the liberals seem really confused about what to think about him because
everyone is.
Yeah, but I don't know, because it's Laura Loomer is pissed about him, so they're all woke Pope, because that's what she's saying.
Yeah,
but her standard should not be our standard for what woke means.
And no matter what, he's very young relatively for popes. He's only in his late 60s.
Oh, God,
so no matter what, we're gonna be living with this pope for a long time, which I think is unnerving.
New
that
roommate.
Part sucks. New roommate.
So I hope he's good.
Hope.
That's the part that pissed me off a lot too. That was the main thing they said with Tagli is that he was 67 and this guy's 69, and it's like, okay, all right. And I also was thinking too, it's like it would be negligent of the State Department to not have some sort of investment or awareness of who is going to be the next pope. And I don't suspect that's what happened here necessarily. I think that's a little overly paranoid. But again, it's like I said, it's like if I found out that the State Department, like if I found out that there's no one in the Pentagon or the State Department who has any kind of like insight or is keeping tabs on who's going to be the next pope under the circumstances, does that seem crazy to anyone else? I feel like that's something that
not these days, honestly. I feel like they are like bleeding staff left and right.
I guess, yeah.
Whoever was on Popewatch got fired in the first round of Doge cuts,
and that's why we're doing it here.
I think there's also like a certain amount of with the Catholic Church, like, you know, anybody who is an insider for like a foreign government with the Catholic Church is also like an insight into that foreign government for the Catholic Church, you know? So I think there's always been like that tension with people like representing the Catholic Church. You know, politically it used to be like, you know, in the 60s, people freaked out over like a Catholic presidency, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, JFK, that was a big deal.
Yeah, you know, it's a very weird organization because like it's, you know, there's so many people who are like minorities and are oppressed in some sense or another who are part of the Catholic Church, and yet it's also like a massive force of historical oppression, you know?
Right, exactly. So. It is a mainly bad organization that has, especially in Italy, played specific like developmental roles that are often seen as largely positive by the people in those communities, and that model has really worked for them for a long time. But it still does not absolve. I don't think it absolves the wealth and excess of the Catholic Church by any stretch, and especially with all the child fucking, lest we forget that's still a thing.
Forget that.
Yeah. So that is the end of Popewatch. The smoke is out. Habum papus. Fuck you, Catholic Church. So yeah, I guess now on to some more fun and exciting news. Sorry about my dog there earlier, but we touched briefly last week on the arrest of motherfucking. Hey,
what is that?
Axiom, I think I need you to mute yourself. I can't hear you. There's a lot of sound coming through.
Oh yeah, sorry. I live in the hood, so like, you know, it's a nice day.
It's all good. Yeah.
But, you know, straight cars.
I had a dog barking a second ago, but I was starting to say that the judges that were arrested, I mean, to check the board for a second, still no positive news on Mahmoud Khalil. Rameza Azturk, the girl who was arrested in Somerville, seems to be on her way out of detention after 2 goddamn months, which is crazy to think about. But again, no positive news on a lot of other folks in similar situations. And then we also have the developments that happened last week of those judges being arrested, which I have no idea where that stands. And our most recent and probably craziest escalation yet, the arrest of the guy's last name is Baraka, correct?
Baraka, yeah.
Yeah.
Right now, the mayor
New Jersey
of
governor,
Newark?
Their mayor. Yeah, the mayor of Newark, New Jersey, got arrested.
Raz Baraka.
Yeah, for going to visit an ICE facility. And the video is really striking. It's a really, really crazy escalation by ICE. And this will bring us back to our friend Tom Holman we were talking earlier, with his fucking incredible jowls. And like, I know it's such a bad thing to just go and mainly focus on like the aesthetics of these horrifically evil people, but when I listen to someone like Tom Holman, I'm like, if you sound like this, they're like, you should, I don't know, like that, how did those two things line up, that it's like, this is the person whose job it is to represent this. I can't even do an impression of him without sounding like I'm doing an insensitive impression of someone with like a serious mental deficiency. It's unbelievable the way that he speaks, and he was on the news.
He sounds a little bit like Zoidberg, maybe.
That's so rude to Zoidberg. Like, oh my
god, it's so unfair to Zoidberg.
Zoidberg is so lovable.
Evil Zoidberg. Yeah. But I was listening to him on the news earlier talking about the supposed hypocrisy between the conditions in New Jersey jails and the conditions in the ICE center, and that's why it's like just total bullshit what all went on here.
Well, look, he's not very smart. I mean, bottom line is that's what the facility's all about. This facility's about due process. This facility is where we put illegal aliens. People in the country illegally, first of all, if they're in the country illegally, they're being detained. And they were screaming and yelling about due process and 14 and all this in the Constitution. This is where due process happens. We have to detain them to go through the due process. Sometimes seeing a judge, sometimes they already have final orders. It's ranging removal to their countries, to getting travel documents to their countries, and making sure all the administrative processes are followed. So this is exactly what the facility means. And I'll tell you this. I can guarantee you this facility has higher detention standards than any New Jersey facility. This facility has highest detention standards in the industry. You compare that to any jail in New Jersey, and you'd be shocked how high these detention standards are.
Well, it's like, it's sad, but it's like, it's not that you have to hand it to them, but it's like, this is what happens when you fail to take a moral stand so consistently for so long, and you allow for the prison conditions to degrade the way they are and just remain as like the status quo. Is then when things like what's being done by the Trump administration happen, you don't have as much of a leg to stand on. If that's never been something you're advocating for, it is really possible that some New Jersey jails are worse than that ICE detention center. I wouldn't be surprised to learn that at all, quite frankly. I'm sure there are prisons throughout the country that are much worse. There's a lot of really, really bad incarceration facilities. So
right.
I don't know.
That's probably true, but
me.
what does that? I don't really see what that has to do with them like deciding to arrest him after. Didn't he have like permission?
No, it has nothing to do. Exactly, it has nothing to do. It's crazy. It was a crazy comparison. It was just like one of those rhetorical things that's so frustrating about the listening to these fucking people. They're endless, but yeah, they had no grounds to arrest him, and it's total bullshit. And I don't know. There's just a sense of degradation overall throughout the entire political system.
There's also like an alarming rise in people, like right-wing operatives, going out there and like actively making the case in favor of getting rid of habeas corpus laws like suspending them. Like
Stephen Miller,
Stephen Miller, and then also like some of the like podcasters. Like, I mean, I've only heard Tim Pool, and his argument was the dumbest fucking thing I've ever heard in my life. But like,
what?
But it
Tim
is
Pool?
like.
Yeah, Tim Pool, he didn't have a very well thought out argument.
What? I don't want to shock your brains or anything.
Please outline Tim Pool's argument for us so we can dissect it critically. God damn it.
In times of war, a wartime president makes difficult decisions which are outside what our principles purport to be.
But we're not in a time of war.
And it's also well, Tim. No, we're not.
So when
Tim, can I just make a point? And this
we are
is
in a time of war.
Right. Okay. We'll come to that in a second. When the government takes away rights, it is very difficult, if not almost impossible, for you to get them back. Can we just agree that?
Yes.
So you are willing to give up rights in this society for the government to then come in and then enact against the enemies.
When have humans ever not done that? Give me one example. One.
He sounded like a 15-year-old who's like just read an article from someone he thinks is smart, and he's like trying to pass it off as his own ideas. Like that's exactly what he sounded like.
Yeah, he typically reads articles for the first time.
I know
he
usually doesn't read them at all, so it was kind of impressive.
Yeah. Articles he's never read that he's reading for the first time on air.
Yeah. But they're trying to make the case.
The regime has also threatened to arrest Jamie Pritzker of Chicago, and they've threatened Supreme Court justices and judges also that don't go along with Trump.
Yeah.
So just along with that, they now have actually in the last few days done an arrest of the mayor of New Jersey.
Yeah.
But yeah, they've been threatening arrest of multiple people at this point as well, which is pretty frightening.
Yep.
And also, ICE has deported toddlers, including a 4-year-old with cancer, which interrupted their cancer treatment. Just some horrific stories of like a 2-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 7-year-old, I think, being separated again from their parents. So we're going through yet an even more severe family separation type situation that we saw in the first term.
Yeah.
And they're trying to find ways to deport people without due process.
It's so frustrating. It's like, I remember learning as a child about the idea that that just, I feel like even before I had like any kind of understanding of the concept of social violence, I understood that like forced migration, forced relocation inevitably leads to like just death. Like it's just like it kills people. Like it's just a way to kill people and ruin their lives. Mm-hmm. And that is like it's understood the way gravity is understood, where it's like, yeah, it's you can't exactly explain it, but it's like it's pretty fucking easy to observe and prove. So it's like it's real. Like that really fucking happens, and they just refuse to acknowledge that as a reality. And I just am always, especially with Stephen Miller, God, it's so hard to look at him and not want to say something really terrible about him. That something legally actionable, something that is he's just such a repugnant evil
Very
man.
Repugnant evil person.
Oh my fucking God, just completely dead shark eyes. I hate him so much. He's such a bastard. Yeah. So I mean, like in all of this. What were you saying?
Oh, no problem. We've seen some positive developments, I think, like the release of Mosen Madawi was really exciting to see. The one who was apprehended in Vermont when he was applying for his citizenship test. And he won basically knowing that he hadn't done anything wrong and only was exercising his free speech. And apparently, in whatever arbitration process he had, they ended up freeing him, which was pretty good. And then there's been some other pushback, like the federal cases. There's now been 4 cases that have struck back against his use of the Alien Enemies Act to deport people, which is a really positive development, including the case with, there's the case with Boasberg over Abrego Garcia. And we've recently seen evidence in court that was presented that showed that Tren de Aragua effectively does not exist and has no real connection with the Venezuelan government, which completely undercut, according to Boasberg, the legitimacy of the case. And to make matters worse for the case for these people being sent to El Salvador, they couldn't prove any connection to Tren de Aragua. So Boasberg rejected both the fact that we are at war with Tren de Aragua because they are not cooperating with any foreign governments, and that's been proven in court. And he also is challenging the fact that Abrego Garcia and many other people have no connections to Tren de Aragua anyway. So even if it were true that Tren de Aragua is a threat that warrants the Alien Enemies Act, this judge is saying that absolutely does not hold up in court. And the fact of the matter is that these are actually war crimes that the president is committing.
Allegedly.
And that's why the Supreme Court issued that 9-0 ruling that, speaking of that piece of shit, Stephen Miller, he argued was 9-0 in favor of President Trump during the Bukele meeting. But actually, it turns out that so obviously the courts were trying to protect Trump from himself, because a president cannot single-handedly change the international law that was set up by us after World War II. And so they were really trying to help him help himself. And the fact that he has continued to ignore court rulings makes him in violation of war crimes.
Allegedly.
And we've recently learned, too, that there is a major scandal developing that's only starting to unravel with Bukele. And it turns out that journalists have started looking into, when he publicly stated after that meeting with Trump, he publicly offered to do a prison exchange, and reporters started digging into that. And it turns out that Bukele actually did not clean up crime in El Salvador through what we believe by just arresting all criminals, he did so by cooperating directly with MS-13. So he conspired with one of the two major gangs to arrest people without due process and round up essentially with lists that were compiled by intelligence, and to go after all of the gang members in El Salvador who belonged to the competing gang against MS-13. So Bukele was working with them, and the offer to exchange prisoners that he made is because 9 prisoners were sent on that first plane that are MS-13 gang members that were scheduled to they were scheduled to testify in U.S. courts, which would have testifying against Bukele and potentially blowing the lid off of this scandal for international investigators in a court that does pay attention to international law instead of El Salvador. So what Donald Trump actually did is, despite his rhetoric of being against gangs like MS-13, he's directly conspiring, allegedly, with Bukele, with MS-13, in order to help send gang members back to El Salvador to avoid U.S. trial, so that Bukele can avoid war crimes himself. And so the two of them now are cooperating to avoid international investigators who would allegedly consider this a war crime. And Bukele has actually started arresting journalists now within his own country who have started to reveal this.
Yeah.
It's so crazy that you guys are the only people I've heard about this from.
Yeah. That thread is going to keep getting pulled.
Yeah, I know. I heard like some whispers about like people starting to investigate those prison exchanges and people being pulled out of the U.S. before testifying. But when you put it all together like that, it makes sense. It's like you don't do something like what Nayib Bukele. This is like a known fact. It's the same in Mexico. It's like once these organized crime organizations reach a certain stature, this is just a historical fact. It's like you can't completely erase them at all. It's just impossible. It's like you have to find some way to absorb them. Yeah, you have to find some way to like absorb them and at least like prune off the worst elements of them under the best circumstances. But it's like the things that prison is terrifying, and it's monstrous that we're sending people there, and it's horrible that Manuel Abrego Garcia is not home yet. That sucks.
Yeah,
still really
horrifying.
Yeah, that's nightmarish.
Incredibly traumatizing.
Mix of good news. Yeah, 2 months for Ramiza Ozturk. It's like these things don't have a zero effect, and that's the thing that pisses me off so much. Is these people talk about this stuff like it's all just so like blasé when you're talking about uprooting people's lives and imprisoning them over like literally just like bureaucratic bullshit. And these people talk about like they're just like absolute fucking lunatics on every level, and everything's like communism to them, and they're just like fucking just. I was thinking about this while you were talking, is that like we're going to talk about this, I guess, with Israel too, and like the general like denomination, like with the Houthis, like just the delineation of calling something a terrorist group that they've been trying to push to its nth state with this whole designation of these foreign gangs as terrorist groups. And it's like, to anyone who is around our age bracket or older who lived through, I don't know what the cutoff is, but like if you lived through the War on Terror era, if you lived through the second George W. Bush presidency and you're like conscious during that time and you're still like, even if you're like politically neutral, I don't know. It's like if you're someone who is like politically neutral or against that, but now you've turned around on all this, you are a vapid, empty shell of a person. You're fucking horrible. You're just really think about, like, you just absorbed nothing from that, like, very.
You don't even need to like look back to that time. Honestly, like I was thinking about this the other day while I was watching Hassan and Ethan debate about how, like, Hassan did not bring this up, but like anybody with a fucking brain can tell you that, can see that, like, Trump's threat to call people who vandalize Teslas terrorists is fucking stupid, but he has the power to do it, right? Yeah. Or like the way that Luigi's case is being designated as terrorism. Like, obviously,
right,
that's
exactly.
Everyone agrees that's bullshit, or at least a lot of people on the left do. And yet we can't like align ourselves around the idea that the government uses the label of terrorism as a tool to like otherize and dehumanize like the people that they want to start targeting.
Yes.
Like,
exactly.
like that's obviously what it's for. Like, there's many rhetorical tools that are for that exact thing, and terrorist
this is just the newest one. Yeah,
criminal,
it's the newest one. It's the most effective.
Super predator.
The Israelis developed it in a fucking lab against the Palestinians, and we adapted it during the early 2000s during the war on terror, and now it's still here, and it's not going away, and it's getting worse, just like we
getting
thought
worse.
would happen.
It's like, it is frustrating, though. I agree with you, because like I thought we learned our lesson on this from that era.
No one learned anything, it turned out.
No one ever learns anything.
No one learned a goddamn
That's the lesson of history.
Huh?
What are you saying?
Oh, that's the lesson of history. No one ever learns from history.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good lesson.
That's so true. God damn it. Oh, well, speaking of historical events, I wanted to actually, I didn't even think about it before we started recording this, but maybe we should talk the H3 debate while we have all these great philosophical minds here. Maybe we should get a little parasocial for just a second, because we talked about this last time we had you on Crocus. We've got so much to cover, and I think we should really make sure to cover the most important stuff, which is the what I heard it called the unemployed Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Something like that. And look, like we talked about this a little bit with Vane last time, because he has the realest job of any of us, and thus didn't know any of this shit. And I think we talked about it in the Discord too, but this debate was pretty cool in that it was just like over 100,000 people watching on both sides, and it was deranged on the side of Ethan Klein, who I think, you know, some of us at least would say, like, you know, had at least lukewarm positive feelings to at some point in our lives. It was like watching this, it goes back to like Tom Holman too, where it's like, I don't believe that evil, I resist the idea that evil necessarily manifests in physical, like, tics, but at the same time, it's like watching someone like Ethan Klein go from who he used to be to being this, like, very disconcerting shell of his former self, making these horrible tics all the time, while also trying to make fun of Hassan for his own mannerisms. Like, that was so... And that in itself is such a fucking microcosm of the Israeli, like, attitude, right? It's like endlessly wanting to be the bully while also exhibiting every single trait that you ostensibly condemn and victimize other people for their attitude about. So
they've been driven to it, you know.
Right. I mean, a million in Zionists were made overnight by all those Arabs, right? Like that was crazy.
Oh my God, when he just yelled the fucking Arabs, like, I gasped. Like, I was like...
Right, yeah. I mean, that was it. So, yeah, I mean, watch the whole debate, or not.
Do not.
It's about 5 hours, so be prepared.
It's a lot of debate. Look, these are the intellectual titans of our era, all right? This is like watching... philosophies, like Socratic dialogues, all right?
Yeah.
Philosophizing.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Or something. This is like watching some of the greats in some
Get your
name of sport.
Strap in.
This is not an advice podcast. Listen to him.
Do we have any YouTube comments we want to cover? Anything like that? Really?
Some credible sources.
Yeah, incredible. Well, I don't know. I'm so gassed from this week.
Wait, I did want to say something way earlier.
Please.
When you were talking about Hassan's fashion, you said you weren't always in agreement with his style, and I really like that turn of phrase, and I'm going to start saying that to people when I like what they're wearing. Like, I'm in real agreement with your style today. I think that's really good. I'm in agreement
with your style. Well, there was the moment in the just to bring back in the H3 debate. The one really great moment for Ethan Klein was when he observed that Hassan looked like that one character from, we'll use that as the thumbnail, from the one character from Beetlejuice who's like a giant, tiny head in a giant suit. That was pretty good.
That was funny.
that got me.
Yeah.
That was I mean, man, he does have a tiny head, so...
Yeah, but he lost all those style points when he, like, fixated on Hassan's armpit hair in the middle of nothing, like, just because the picture was up there.
So,
and he's been doing that, by the way,
don't
like,
act
on his
like
stream
we haven't all
frequently,
fixated
complaining
on
about that
Hassan's
picture.
armpit hair.
What were you saying, Axiom?
Don't act like we haven't all fixated on Hassan's armpit hair a little bit. Like, it's his goddamn thumbnail. Like, you know, we all imagine his Turkish musk.
I mean, fair enough. But like, we should get into the damn news, I guess. I'm looking at the outline right now. Is there anything you want to make sure to cover on here, Vane?
I wanted to talk Fetterman now. I think it would be a funny time to talk the Fetterman scandal.
Yes. Well, I wanted to generally ask, like, where the are the Democrats? And here we have one of the scions of the new Democratic Party really coming into his all in their seeming new strategy of being annoying and taking the least popular position and then acting like it's crazy that everyone hates you.
Becoming Dianne Feinstein in his like mid 40s or 50s. His brain's
so
just
worse
mush.
Than Dianne Feinstein. Like, at least Dianne Feinstein had the sense to stay out of the limelight as much as possible. Like Dianne Feinstein wasn't doing Joe Rogan. Although take that image to your head for a second. Dianne Feinstein on Rogan? Come on.
Did you see this video of him with the woman who is awesome and tells him shame on you, and he's just sitting at a bench? And it's like, why is a senator just sitting at this fucking bench? And he's upset that he approaches her.
All he says the whole time is, "I'm sitting on a bench." Like, that's all he says.
And he's like, he just seems zonked out of his mind. Like, he just looks like he's not well at all. And
sad,
I mean,
man.
maybe we shouldn't be making fun of someone who's not well.
No, we should. We should.
So, yeah,
because
I mean,
he is an adult who is a public figure who ran for fucking office. It's like, that's something I think we should really resist, is the idea that we should be taking sympathy on our elected leaders like this. It's like, no, sorry, you got the job. You've auditioned for the job. You got it. Maybe it's not working out. Too fucking bad, pal. It's time. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like,
he's got his wife apparently is more progressive than he is, and this article that recently came out basically reveals that his wife had even reached out to his campaign to ask about his vehemently pro-Israel tweeting. And even the campaign is uncomfortable by how disgustingly pro-genocidal he is, basically.
What do you call them? Spoiled milk or something?
Yeah.
Like, I wasn't aware that was going on.
Yeah, it hasn't really been publicized too much. But here's the clip of this lady, which I think just more people should be doing this in general to Democratic politicians who don't fall in line. And this is a great example of how you can shame a politician if you happen to see them sitting aimlessly on a bench in the middle of the day.
Get it on tape, for sure. Get it on tape.
Feel that Israel has the right to kill and kill and kill people? You still think Israel has a right to defend itself still? When is enough, Senator?
I don't know why you're harassing me.
That's not harassment. You're a senator, right?
I saw you coming and I assumed you were going to come over. And
I mean, you work for the people, right? You're in these halls for the people.
I'm just sitting here on a bench.
Right.
Just sitting
and my
here
people
on a
are being
bench.
slaughtered because of your votes and the money that you sent to Israel and your complicity in genocide. You have nothing to say about that? Over 100,000 Palestinians have been slaughtered. How do you sleep at night, Senator?
I'm on a bench.
Seriously. How do you sleep at night? Do you not see the videos and the just the children that are being slaughtered out there?
I don't have anything to say.
You don't have anything to say? Of course not.
I'm just sitting on a bench.
Because AIPAC pays you way too much money to say anything, to be a human being. Yeah.
He's a terrible person.
What a shame. What a shame. You do not deserve the position that you have at all.
Exactly.
Shame on you
it's
for
that
being
simple.
complicit in genocide. Shame on you.
You don't deserve the position that you have. It's the same fucking thing that the Israelis can't ever stop fucking crowing about, and it's why they have to equate Zionism with Judaism, because you cannot you cannot remove yourself of your ethnicity.
Yeah, I'm sorry you feel depressed because you have to, on some level, think about the people that you're directly murdering in cold blood, but that is no reason why you need to be a completely immobile rock sitting in the fucking Senate, sometimes even voting for your opposition party. No, you need to get the fuck out. Stop taking up a fucking seat.
John Fetterman's so fucking hard, and it's been observed many times, but he's going to hurt himself or someone else. And the car accident he was in nearly led to exactly that for his wife. So, yeah, I mean, like, it's really sad, but also, like, him so bad. Like, fucking get out of office. And, yeah, it's like he's a senator. There's not that many goddamn senators, and Chuck Schumer is praising this ass. Chuck Schumer is not doing it. Where are the fucking Democrats? I was thinking about this earlier. It's like, where's Barack Obama? Like, Barack Obama has made me convinced that the presidency should be a lifetime appointment, because you should serve for like 8 to 12 years and then you should be killed. Like, you shouldn't. No one should get to live their twilight years profiting from having been the president of the United States. I think that's a fundamentally like corrupt way to run a state. And I'm just like, Barack Obama has proved that definitively to me.
Yeah. One of the episodes I want to do pretty soon is going to be a deep dive into the collapse of the Soviet Union, I think. And there's a lot of parallels between the collapse of our state today and the collapse of the Soviet Union. And I think a great parallel to that is really related to what you had just been saying. And I'm also glad that you brought up the car accident, because I have a funny clip of Fetterman right now, too.
Here on Interstate 70 westbound, just before the 68 split, not far from the Pennsylvania border. A witness tells police Fetterman's vehicle passed her at a high rate of speed, well over the posted limit. What? Seconds later, the witness saw Fetterman's SUV slam into the rear of a car. 11 investigates traveled 2.5 hours southeast of Pittsburgh, and we found Fetterman's crushed SUV at a garage in Hancock, Maryland. The front end twisted and mangled metal.
Turn the volume down the clip, see if that
front
helps.
Airbags deployed. The tires bent out from the frame. The father of the garage owner described a violent collision based on the damage.
Yeah. He hit that car so hard it come clear up on top of the SUV. I mean, that shows that man hit that woman a heck of a lick.
Fetterman and his wife and the driver of the other vehicle, a 62-year-old woman from Pennsylvania, were all taken to nearby War Memorial Hospital with possible or suspected minor injuries.
Yeah.
Well, and the story of him meeting with the union leader that came out, and then his staffer coming out and crying, and it's like, that's another part of the whole story of like Fetterman and Feinstein, is all of these fucking Washington staffers whose job it is to just like move these people around like it's fucking Weekend at Bernie's. It's like, what a disgusting, indignant existence. I mean, we talked about Jerry Conley last week, but it's like, all of these people shuffling these people across the finish line towards like obscure inefficacy is like, that's your career in politics, dude. I don't know. I will take being as far away from that as possible over if that's a career in politics these days, then like, yeah, no fucking surprise that's the people that get attracted to that. So I don't know. Well, I wanted to make sure to shout out on our outline, because you never know what all we're going to get to. Our producer here came up with the subtitle for a section of Doge News, Khmer Doge, and I think that's awesome. I think that's very accurate. And
I have to say, though, it is borrowed. They did not say this term, so I think that I get credit for some creativity here, but I am borrowing this idea from a good episode that was recent on Pol Pot of Behind the Bastards, which is a good podcast.
Oh, okay.
Check it out.
Well,
and
I was thinking
they
about,
talk
like,
about
every
the similarities of Khmer Rouge
and
and Doge.
Well, Pol Pot and Elon Musk, yeah, it's like they're really, when you read and hear descriptions of Pol Pot, they do kind of like resonate with Elon Musk.
Yeah.
It's this like weird, extremely ambitious, but also like extremely like lukewarm and like off.
Yeah,
in their,
it's an
like,
affluent, insular, revolutionary group that grows to have contempt for the society's intellectual class. And in the case of Pol Pot, resulted in like the policy of emptying the cities, which is essentially murdering people for having eyeglasses and things like that. That's seen as a sign of bourgeois. And so that's what happens when you have a class of intellectuals who get to run society, and they really have this liberal affluence that allows them to pursue a liberal arts education. And what they do with it is focus on how to take down the establishment, essentially. And they weaponize that. So you have basically in Cambodia the conditions where the masses were treated so terribly, and you had the bombing of Cambodia was more bombs were dropped on Cambodia than all of what was dropped on Japan during World War II, including the atomic bombs. More megatons were dropped on Cambodia. And so they had absolutely no infrastructure, had tons of pissed off peasantry, basically, and no organization. And the only organization that remained was this shadowy group of intellectuals who had time to read things like Maoist theory and communist revolutionary theory, which the masses certainly were not reading. And so they're looking to leaders like Pol Pot to become their intellectual leaders. But what their interpretation of communism becomes is highly distorted and radicalized and individualized. And they end up really taking a very anti-Marxist, anti-dialectical approach to something like a revolution.
Khmer nationalism is a part of it, an important part of it too.
It's nationalism.
I mean,
Absolutely.
Another parallel is that you do have a like very nationalist strain to what Doge is doing, but it's also like already individualized to the umpteenth. So I don't know. I mean, a
lot of parallels between it, and I definitely recommend the Pol Pot episode of Behind the Bastards.
Yeah.
And I think also another fun topic we can talk about is Besant. We've got a couple funny clips of him.
Hey, for behind the scenes for the listener, we have, for some reason, sometimes our clips when they're playing for us cut out and we can't always hear them. And it seems to specifically happen for a specific tone in Scott Besant's voice when he's really shook. And it's so sad because I love that sound. Listening to Scott Besant get interviewed and be like, the economy is looking great is just like one of the I suckle it off my fingers. It's like it's like the fucking the dust from the Takis on your. It's just it's so good.
Right.
And then of course when we play the clips while we're recording, the shit cuts out. So I guess for you, the listener, because I love you and thank you for listening. Again, thank you for subscribing. Or if you aren't subscribed, do that because there's even more sweet messages behind the paywall. But. Play some. Let's play. Yeah, little messages, little secret hints. Let's play some Scott Besant. Fan fiction. Yeah, we're doing fan fiction.
Right.
We should do Twilight fan fiction, but play me some Scott Besant.
If you join the $100 tier, then we'll write you.
It's all good.
It's all good.
Bleep out the name, like an erotic poem in 46 stanzas describing you and his hairy chest.
Yeah, I will do that. I'm really hairy for the listener too. So let's play some Scott Besant clips. Let's get some juice.
Here's Besant talking about the deals that Trump's making. There was reports that over 200 deals have been made, and that number seems a little questionable because there's only 196 countries in the world. And so here's Besant saying, and it's a little unlikely that every single country on Earth has its own deal. So here is Besant letting us know that reporting of 200 deals also includes sub deals. So. And I do love a good sub deal.
I only deal with my subs.
Yeah, I love subs. Italian sub. You can have a meatball sub.
Just talking about buying lunch. That's the other
nice
like
to get
4
a deal
deals.
on a sub, yeah.
10 days later, the NASDAQ is now up on the month of April. And I haven't seen a story that says, oh, stock market has biggest bounce back ever. So I think
it certainly has gone back and forth.
I think a lot of this is media driven.
Let's talk about the Time interview with President Trump. He said that he has made 200 deals on tariffs. 200 deals? Who has he made deals with? Is there actually any deal at this point?
I believe that he is referring to sub-deals within the negotiations we're doing. And, Martha, if there are 180...
But those aren't actual deals.
It really is incredible. Like, come on, does that sound like a confident man? Does it sound like a guy? Like, he sounds like he's just been called out. Like, his wife's like, "What is this on the credit card exactly?" Like, that's the tone of Scott Bessent's voice,
right? And here we can really showcase that Bessent warble that he's got in his tone.
Give it to me.
It's really featured here.
Try turning the volume down a little bit.
I think it happened a couple of times in the 70s for the dollars, stocks, and bonds to get hit as hard as they simultaneously did over the last few weeks. If the goal is to get countries to stand with us against China, does it worry you at all that investors seem to be losing confidence in the U.S.?
Well, again, you're saying losing confidence, and I don't think that this is necessarily losing confidence. And anything, I've been in the markets for 35, 40 years, anything that happens over a 2-week, 1-month window can be either statistical noise or market noise. And we're in this for the long term, and the important thing is that we are setting the fundamentals for a strong dollar, a strong economy, strong stock market, and for investors to know that the U.S. government bond market is the safest and soundest in the world.
I'm feeling strong, personally.
I'm feeling very strong.
It's like the meme was like, "This is my lawyer, dog. I'm getting to jail." This is my commerce secretary, dog. My economy has crashed. This is so bad.
I've worked with so many men like him, like just so many in like corporate America who they're just like, the only thing they're truly invested in is making themselves sound like, making people believe that they know what the fuck they're talking about. They're not interested in learning about anything or doing right by people, or it's just like, get my money up and make people think that I'm right all the time. Like, that's it.
Right. How do I sound convincing? Yeah, exactly.
And he's not even doing that.
That's all I could hear. No, that's right. That's all I could hear is like someone who's like blustering to fill time to give an answer that's actually, well, I don't know. Like the actual answer is, I don't know.
Like I don't know. My boss really sucks. And I gave him some stupid ideas.
I know that's what he's saying because I've been there. I know I've had that kind of word salad before where it's like, yeah, it makes sense, but if you write it out and you read it, you're not actually saying anything. You're saying a lot of bullshit, man. It's like, and it's literally just you covering you and your boss's ass. That is what that is. That's the sound of a corporate wretch covering themselves and their boss's ass. Yeah. It's Speaking like a bird in the forest I can fucking recognize.
Here's another example of a corporate wretch covering his boss's ass.
Yeah.
Listen to this. This is Ro Khanna questioning some dipshit Republican. I don't remember his name.
Right. 3 Republican witnesses come to a hearing on industrial policy, and none of them mentioned the word tariff. Not one single one. And yet all Donald Trump is doing is tariff policy when the 3 Republican witnesses are recommending 100 different things other than tariff policy. Mr. Bishop, do you agree with Donald Trump's tariff policy?
I'm not here as an economic expert.
You all think you're not here as an economic expert, and yet you're giving us all these recommendations for how we build an industrial base. Is it that you don't have any expertise and we should just pick up any random citizen, or are you here as some economic expertise on industrial policy?
Is that for me?
Yes.
Oh, sorry, I misspoke on this. I mean, on tariffs, this is just not one of the, I mean, like these guys as well, we're focused on building companies here.
But I don't understand how you don't have the President of the United States is saying the way to build manufacturing is to have these tariff policies. You're here to testify on manufacturing, how we're going to build it. And you're telling me you don't have an opinion on whether the Trump tariff policy is successful or not?
We're here to represent private industry, people who are actually building companies, not people who are theoretical.
This is not a theoretical matter. He's implementing tariffs. I'm not even trying to trick you. I'm saying, do you agree with all his tariff policies, or do you disagree with them? Or are you so afraid that you don't know what to say?
I think all of us have been really clear. We're here to. This is not what we're here to talk about.
But do you agree with it or disagree with it? Yes or no? I mean, you could say either things.
I have the same position as these guys. We're here to talk about how to incentivize more manufacturing and industrial
Right, but
jobs.
do you think that the president's tariff policies are doing that
How
or
to
not?
incentivize
manufacturing.
Some of it is correct and some of it is wrong.
All about incentives.
You think some of Trump's tariff policies haven't worked?
No, I'm saying I agree with actually what Chris was saying, is that what we've seen so far has been, and what we're going to be seeing over the next 90 to 100 days has been really interesting, especially as more countries are coming back to the table. But I can't tell the
all
future.
All three of you are so afraid of criticizing Donald Trump that even though you don't mention tariffs in any of your testimonies, none of you are willing to say that this policy is totally backfiring.
I just don't want to try to predict the near future. I'm not a mind reader. I don't know what's going on in the minds of the counter.
Imagine someone working in industrial policy trying to predict the near future.
Imagine.
That seems like that's risky. You shouldn't do that.
Imagine trying to do like a forecast about what might be coming soon. And,
yeah. Imagine planning your economy. That's crazy.
No.
What?
That's crazy.
No, you can't do that. You need
and
to
I do
incentivize
agree.
your
I do
economy.
agree in as much as none of us knows what the future holds. That's clear enough. But
It's so true. None of us really know.
Even they don't know.
And whenever
they don't
I'm
know
asked
what
to
his
provide a
boss-
forecast personally, that's what I tell my boss. I say, look, we could all be hit by buses tomorrow. Why are you asking me to forecast what we're going to sell next quarter? Like
next meeting you're in. Oh,
Why
I'm not
should I
here,
project
on economic
earnings?
policy.
in a shareholder meeting. You want me to project earnings? Why would I do that? I can't predict the future.
I'm not here in an economic capacity. I'm not here in an economic capacity, actually. I'm not here as an economic expert. I'm not here on the money side of things. I'm an idea guy, actually. I'm more. He should have said he was an idea guy at some point in there.
That is a good way to get out of that.
I'm a big picture guy. Exactly. If you just say you're a big picture guy, you're good. Yeah.
I did not enjoy him.
You tell them you're a big picture guy. That's hard to argue with, and whatever he just did. I don't know what the he was just saying. Every time, that's the thing. It's like going to fail for them. Is as soon as you start saying little shit, oh yeah, we're going to incentivize these companies, that sets off people's bullshit detectors. That is why they have soured on the Democrats after so many years of incentivizing companies to do this, that, and the other thing that they obviously
that was the Democrats'
do.
solution to healthcare. We're going to offer incentives so that we get full coverage.
So good. Yeah, people are not people.
That's what the mandate to buy healthcare was. The individual mandate is an incentive, and people don't fucking like that. They don't like the nudges.
No, it's not even just an incentive too. It's like it's more coercive than that on that end. But they're being incentivized with like, we're going to subsidize this, that, and the other. And it was always again like mafia fucking neoliberalism. It's already failed, and we're not misanthropes here. People aren't fucking stupid. Like they do recognize this flavor of bullshit, and they're going to come around. They already are, and I think we've got some pretty compelling figures on that coming out with the collapse of the Trump popularity, which is frustrating, certainly, but it's also heartening on some levels too. So
yeah, we didn't mention that we did just hit the 100-day milestone.
Oh yeah,
and I would say that the title of that is Worst 100 Days instead of First 100 Days. And he has
banger pun.
he has had the absolute, by any metric that's not like a completely hyper-partisan outlet, he has had the worst 100 days ever since that's been a concept, since FDR started publishing the idea that a president should get a lot done in their first 100 days. This is without question the worst first 100 days that has ever happened since then. And he has the lowest approval rating for a president in 80 years.
So I have a question about
It's almost
that
like if you're going to do an anti-New Deal and be the anti-FDR who undoes the very last remnants of FDR's mandate, it's almost like you're going to have an inverse of his popularity. When FDR was 80% popular, you're going to be 20% popular.
So why do you think he keeps taking interviews with people who actually are asking him like questions that he then hates and yells at them for? Like there was that first guy who did the really disturbing interview where we found out that Trump actually thinks that Kilmar Abrego Garcia has MS 1 and 3 tattooed on his fingers. And then he took another interview after that, which, by the way, I like fully crashed.
Yeah, and he insulted that guy when he asked him. He was like, I've never even heard of you.
I'm crashing out again, remembering that this happened. I'm now spiraling.
He had some tattoos that are interpreted that way. But let's move on.
Wait a minute. Hey, Terry.
He did not have the letter MS13.
It says MS13.
That was Photoshop. So let me
That was Photoshop. Terry, you can't do that. Hey, they're giving you the big break of a lifetime. You know, you're doing the interview. I picked you because, frankly, I never heard of you, but that's okay. I picked you, Terry. But you're not being very nice.
Did you see? Sorry, I'll let you.
No, and then there was that woman who was also asking him tough questions, and I feel like he's frustrated that he can't get like a softball interview outside of like Fox News or whatever.
Right.
And so he keeps trying.
Well, he enjoys the White House press pool so much now, especially now that Tim
it's all just Marjorie Taylor Greene's boyfriends.
Right, like he's
still
looking
in his
for
beanie.
that kind of juice. Yeah, he's looking for that kind of juice. But I feel like when you do the thing, he also loves ratings, and I think that the sycophantic interviews probably don't get ratings because they're fucking boring, and they don't like. You can watch it; it's different watching that. Like the press pool shit is like scary. Well, that shit has been really scary and dystopian to watch. But I do think that like there's something about a long form interview like that where it just seems at a certain point like obviously this person is basically just like it's like watching the emperor be interviewed, and it's like, how is the emperor so?
Because anytime,
people, Americans have an aversion to that kind of like weird, like supplicant, like just like weird. So when you put a face to it, and it's supposed to be like a face-to-face conversation with someone they respect, it's almost like they think less of Sean Hannity afterwards. Or something.
Well, this is like the number one thing that I was noticing about when I was watching these interviews is that when reporters try to just like read him statistics or like any of the stuff we were talking about with like stuff that's going wrong with the tariffs or his popularity stuff, like he will get so angry immediately, and he will stop them and go, no, we're doing very well, and he'll say that over and over again. Like he's pissed off. Like he's.
I have a great example of that. I have a great example of that ready to go. There was this Australian reporter a couple days ago. Yeah, here's a little Trump clip.
Any questions?
James Matthews from Sky News.
Yes.
Can I ask why Britain and why now? And you've described this deal as a full and comprehensive deal, and yet we've just heard from Mr. Mandelson it's the end of the beginning. Clearly, there's much more work still to do.
Yeah.
With respect, are you overstating the reach and significance of this deal because you're a president who needs a result at a difficult time?
I think that it's a great deal for both parties. It's for us. We're opened up. I didn't know how closed it was. Quite closed, the market, as you know, the UK. And it opens up a tremendous market for us. And it works out very well. And a lot of assets. You see the chart, and those are tremendous assets. But we've been trying, and when you say why us, meaning your country, we've been trying for years, and they've been trying for years to make a deal, including when I was in the, first term. It would always be people talking, but they weren't getting it done. But for 25 years before that, they were trying always to make a deal, a very significant deal. I actually, until I looked at the numbers, I didn't realize this is a very conclusive deal, but we think we can grow it even from that. But this is a maxed out deal, not like you said it. You said it really incorrectly. This is a maxed out deal that we're going to make bigger, and we make it bigger through growth. But we have tremendous assets involved. I was surprised to see how big your country is in trade. Actually, one of the biggest in technology and so many other things. This
is a maxed out deal.
This is a maxed out deal.
I'm going to say that from now. I'm going to be using that in my professional life. This is a maxed out deal, and we're going to make it even bigger.
Through growth.
That sounds awesome. Like he is a genius salesperson in so many ways. Like that sounds like if I heard that from someone who was selling me something, I'd be like, all right, let's what you got, pal? Like, it's fucking maxed out and we're still making it bigger? That's crazy.
I do love, too, he was in that meeting with Mark Carney, the new prime minister, which thankfully that was just a great rebuke of Trump internationally, as well as the prime minister of Australia as well. Both of these elections recently were a rebuke internationally of Trump, and the Liberal parties ended up winning. In Canada, the Liberal Party skyrocketed like 25%, even though they were at a historic low after Trump got elected. And there was actually a really funny interview with Trump saying that Trump basically revealing to Carney that he helped him win, but not understanding the irony of that. And then there was also a good little quote that I got here because a reporter asked Trump what his demands are of Canada, and he had this to say:
Concession?
Yes.
Friendship.
That's not a concession.
No, we're going to be friends with Canada.
I do think of friendship as a concession, personally. I've always said that.
Yeah, friendship is usually a concession.
Oh my God! That's incredible. And I don't know why I feel the need to say this, but for the listener, a little behind the curtain here. Earlier, Vane said trunk instead of Trump, and I'm worried he's going to edit it to change it because I know he does that sometimes. So I want you to know and make sure. I want you to make sure.
I'm not going to be able to edit out now.
That's why.
Got to keep it in for continuity.
Yeah, you got to keep it in for continuity. And this is just for the listener. Just remember, stay woke. Sometimes if I make a bad point, I might be being edited to be sounding like it's a bad point. So just remember that. Just for the future.
That's the only thing.
Yeah. I mean, the listener's just gonna hear like a quick blank, and then we'll just leap forward to now. So
all this time is getting cut out. You know that.
Yeah, straight up. That's gonna be on like the bloopers reel in like 3 years.
It'd be so funny to go to that length because you said trunk and you're like, I'm not gonna admit that. I will not.
I won't admit that. I have to keep. I have to cut all this.
I said trunk.
All right,
trunk man. I wish it sucks though.
I would be like Joseph Stalin if I did that, like editing my photography.
You are kind of the Joseph Stalin of this podcast.
That might be so.
I respect that about you. It's so sad that you fixed the filter for Scott Bessent's warble, but for some reason now it's reacting to Trump's like every other word. I'm really glad I got to hear maxed out deal though. It was just like cutting out, and then it was like it's a maxed out deal, and it's getting bigger, and that. Whew, I'm still riding that.
I don't know if you heard the reporter's question. It was pretty funny.
No, what was the question?
What was it?
His question was, are you overstating the value of this new deal because you desperately need a win at this point? And that's why Trump said that was a very nasty question.
I didn't hear that either. Oh my God. He's such a bitch.
That makes the maxed out deal even funnier in context. It's like the Trump there's the new deal, the fair deal, and now we're getting the maxed out deal.
You know what?
This is the maxed out deal.
Gives me a really good idea for a segment called Guess the Question, where you just listen to Trump's answer and then you have to guess what he was asked.
What the question was? That is a good segment. We got to include that next time.
That'll be fun. We'll do that next time. Yeah.
But
that'll be fun.
Yeah, here is Trump admitting that Carney won because of him, but not sensing the immense irony of that.
Oh yeah.
Thank you very much, everybody. It's a great honor to have Prime Minister Mark Carney with us. As you know, just a few days ago, he won a very big election in Canada. And I think I was probably the greatest thing that happened to him, but I can't take full credit. His party was losing by a lot, and he ended up winning, so I really want to congratulate him.
He ended up winning by a lot, and that was due to Trump, Trump says.
Yeah, what? Why would he? That's such a weird
like, why
cell
would you
phone.
say it?
Yeah.
It's the same thing with
Unless
Operation
you don't
Lightspeed.
get that basically like 50% more people turned out in Canada to vote against you.
It's like no matter what it is, if he perceives he can take credit for something, he will impulsively do it, even if it's something that like it doesn't benefit him to take credit for that. If it's like, well, I did that, so I can take credit for that.
I did have that effect, so I should take credit.
He's like desperate to prove his impact on the world to himself. Like,
yes, that's literally it.
I existed. Look
Yeah,
at
and
me.
that's why he said he's going to take credit for the good parts of the economy, and he's going to blame Biden for the bad parts. And here, I've got that ready too.
That was such a great comment. This is so good.
When does it become the Trump economy?
It partially is right now, and I really mean this. I think the good parts are the Trump economy,
We know
and the
you mean
bad
it,
parts
buddy.
are the Biden economy, because he's done a terrible job. He did
Flawless.
a terrible job on everything.
No, I agree with that,
Yeah, that
actually.
part
I
think
do
that's
agree
true.
with that.
Yeah, that's just facts. Yeah, that's just true. You know, all the tariffs ruining
like,
the
I really
fucking
mean
prospect
this. Like-
of the U.S. dollar.
We know you mean.
Yeah, and in other
man.
news, India and Pakistan are in conflict, and
Oh, yeah,
it
we
seems
should
like
definitely
the
talk about
concept of ceasefire just like doesn't exist. Like both India and Pakistan were talking ceasefire. That immediately fell through because at this point you see what a quote unquote ceasefire looks like in Ukraine and in Gaza, and it's just the world doesn't give a shit about people following through with ceasefire deals. Apparently,
Well,
you could just
we've
break
reached
them immediately.
I see we've reached the point in the news outline listed as nuclear war. So that's the part I wasn't in a rush to get to, but it also wouldn't be a leftist podcast if we didn't end on a negative note too. So yeah, the India-Pakistan conflict was that because the potential for Iran to get tied into that, like it's such a obvious, like that's one of those areas that's always been a really like hot potential inflection point for World War III. But it's I feel like it's hard to World War IV. I feel like it's unfair to even not describe the Cold War as World War III. So it's like,
yeah, I agree.
When does World War IV start, and is it not already started by many metrics? You know what I mean? Because on the subject of like internationalism, we should also probably mention the Houthi surrender too.
Oh,
you know,
yeah,
like
what happened? I kind of missed that.
Well, it goes back to what we were saying about terrorism earlier, where it's like, say whatever, criticisms you may have about the social beliefs and policies of the Houthi movement, but they are the only ones imposing any kind of corporal punishment on the Israelis for the crime against humanity they are committing in Gaza. The Israelis also came out with their plan to just openly occupy Gaza long term. And the Houthis basically seem to have just conceded to the U.S. that they would stop attacking them. I don't think they've really conceded anything else. They also did
Attacking
not consult
the US,
Israel.
right? Not
Yes,
Israel.
they
yeah.
also, exactly. And Israel was not even in the negotiating room for this deal. Like,
Yeah.
this deal was made completely without the consent or awareness of the Israelis. Like, we, even need their consent to do something like that. But that is a crazy thing, and it really, surprised everyone. And I don't, it's hilarious, but they've been kicking our asses. They've been making us look bad there. And Trump also respects, he has an instinctive respect of winner and disdain for losers.
Yeah.
So he recognizes that they are the fucking winners, and he's going out of his way to be deferential. So you know what? Cool.
Yeah, he had that Freudian slip where he actually,
Israel.
he had a Freudian slip there where he said that terrorists are brave. And I don't think he meant to say that.
He said that phrase, terrorists.
Yeah, regarding the Houthis. He admitted that he thinks they're brave.
We had a very good outcome with the Houthis, and we honor their word. I mean, they made a commitment, and we dealt with other countries that were close to them and their surrogates. And we honor all of their words. We'll see what happens, but I think, I believe that hopefully that's over with. And they leave the ships alone, just leave those ships alone.
Hey.
But so we do. We take their word for it. We hit them very hard. They had a great capacity to withstand punishment. They took tremendous punishment. And, you could say there's a lot of bravery there. It was amazing what they took. But we honor their commitment and their word. They gave us their word that they wouldn't be shooting ships anymore, and we honor that.
And then, there was also a good clip of him that surfaced. Oh, sorry, Ax.
What were you saying, Ax?
Oh, is he doing some reverse fucking Bill Maher? I don't even know how to be reverse. Is he doing some Bill Maher thing? Sorry.
Pretty much.
25-year-old reference for you. But yeah, just talking about the supposed bravery of terrorists or whatever. Is that now I don't know. I guess he has been hanging out with Bill Maher, right? Bill Maher had some whole thing of I kind of liked him.
Oh my God, I know. That was such a repellent thing to do. Yeah, Bill Maher did have some weird comment about the Burberry pirates. This is coming back to me now. Didn't he say something weird about it?
Yeah. No, he said that the terrorists in 9/11 were braver than Americans.
You're right. Bill Maher did say that.
They killed people.
That's right. I remember he did. That was one of his early pop-offs.
I think
that was one of his early joints.
Yeah.
He pops off a lot.
Yeah, that's Bill Maher's first album. That's a Team Bill Maher cut. I love it. Hell yeah.
That's why you think our country's so innocent?
He does pop off sometimes, remember?
Yeah. Mafia neoliberalism, folks. And Bill Maher capitulating with Trump was to be expected. I feel like it's the least surprising thing in the world. He had some fucking distasteful wretch on his show who was describing herself as a MAGA lefty. I just have so much reproach and disgust for people who are so invested in finding their own specific personal political ideology that's wildly incoherent, but also appealing in its incoherence to people in power. And that's exactly what I'm describing as being a fucking MAGA lefty or being a fucking, what were they, the Lincoln Project shitheads, it's just this annoying, fence-sitting contrarianist bullshit. I find them to be
opportunists.
The worst kind of people. I just have no love for them. So I don't know.
Maybe to round this out, I think I've got a funny clip of Trump that resurfaced from way back.
And undepressing, pal.
No, I think we got to end on a funny. Well, this is going to be depressing. Fun. It's the tragic comedy of our life, as you realize that when Trump says that a deal is just around the corner, boy, are you in for a world of surprise. Because this is him talking about his healthcare plan in the first administration. And he says in 2 weeks we're going to have comprehensive health care.
Oh my God.
Let's hear it.
I want to talk to you about Obamacare. Since the pandemic hit, millions of people have lost their jobs and thereby lost their health insurance. And almost 500,000 have signed up for Obamacare. Your administration just announced that you're signing on to a lawsuit to overturn Obamacare.
And replace it.
Why does it make sense to overturn Obamacare, with which people now are relying on? Democrats are going to say the man who's wanted to kill Obamacare is going to take away the protection for pre-existing conditions.
First of all, we got rid of the individual mandate. Pre-existing conditions will always be taken care of by me and Republicans, 100%.
But you've been in office 3.5 years. You don't have a plan.
Well, we haven't had... excuse me. You heard me yesterday. We're signing a health care plan within 2 weeks. A full and complete healthcare plan that the Supreme Court decision on DACA gave me the right to do. So we're going to sign an immigration plan, a healthcare plan, and various other plans. And nobody will have done what I'm doing in the next 4 weeks. The Supreme Court gave the President of the United States powers that nobody thought the President had by doing what they did, their decision on DACA. And DACA is going to be taken care of also. But we're getting rid of it because we're going to replace it with something much better. But we got rid of already, which was most of Obamacare, the individual mandate. And that I've already won on. And we won also on the Supreme Court. But the decision by the Supreme Court on DACA allows me to do things on immigration, on health care, on other things that we've never done before.
and you're going to find it to be a very exciting 2 weeks.
That wasn't as good as the maxed out deal. That's okay. I was thinking too, like, that's probably that healthcare deal. That's going to be coming from the same place that Pam Bondi's producing the rest of those Epstein documents, right? It's like, yeah, we'll see that then. Freaks.
He might rebuild Alcatraz though, which is pretty exciting.
That'd be cool.
Based on his fantasy of a movie I saw when I was like 12.
Yeah, I mean, there's like we said at the top of the show, there's too much.
He was watching Escape from
What's
Alcatraz.
that X? No, I was going to ask if anyone else had anything else they wanted to say. So what's up?
He was watching Escape from Alcatraz. It was on.
Yeah, replaying on USA
Today. Watching it, and that's like why he fucking tweeted
that's
that.
Like the Disney
He's
Channel
like, we're bringing it back.
Presidential power. That's like what, like if you were like, I'm the kid president, like that's the type of shit that you would do. Like,
yeah,
I love too. I'm bring this thing back.
I love how it's a museum right now, and the museum workers were completely taken by surprise about this announcement.
Yeah, kid President Trump.
Another great one too was the Hollywood tariff that John Voight apparently approached him with the idea to tariff international films, and so he quickly announced he was going to do 100% tariff and cause mass confusion in Hollywood.
I got a good depressing note to end on that, because that overall is like, it's amazing these people don't like. Is anyone explained to these people at all that like when you do something like that and then it's obviously stupid and ineffective and unenforceable, that is bad. That's just bad. It makes you look stupid. It's bad for the money. It makes the money less.
Scared. It makes the money afraid.
How do I explain this in a way that they fucking get? You know, it's like doing that is bad for everyone's money. It just is. It's stupid. What are you doing? Make a plan. Like, it's crazy to be.
No, gamble. Gambling is better than planning.
Just like, let's just fire this off. We're not going to think about, how this would work in any way, but we're going to try this because you have to do the incentives first. You can't plan anything, just incentives. Yeah. It's just no planning, only incentives. It's fucking, mafia neoliberalism. There you go. Once again, still in full effect. Thank you again for all our subscribers. Seriously, I say all, but for the precious few of you, we love. Thank you so much.
You are so precious.
You're so precious. I love you. Does anyone have anything else they wanna drop out here? Any personal news? Birthdays, deaths, things like that. Is your cat sick? Is your cat healthy? How's everyone's cats?
My cats are great. Well. Nobody puked today. Yeah.
Nice.
That's good.
Nice. That's good.
There's a new nitrous oxide wholesaler in the Bay Area. Their limbs are fat. They're kind of scummy.
This show is going to have so much inspiration.
Met them a couple weeks ago after a concert. I think it's called the West Coast Tanks. So now there's express tanks.
We try and end on a depressing note.
We're representing all the coasts.
All coasts, all nitrous heads. Go take yourselves a nice long pull on the can. Good news. There's still good news out there. Yeah, but Kanye stopped with the nitrous.
Stop that right now. Don't release any more albums until you stop with the nitrous.
Yeah. Oh man, that's someone. I feel much worse for Kanye than Fetterman. I'll say that, but let's. They're both pretty reprehensible. So I love you all. Let's sign it off. Thank you again for listening, and peace.
Okay, bye.
They can't send me to my knees, yeah.